All right, hello parents. Welcome to our makeshift back to school night. If you're watching this in the afternoon, back to school afternoon, or in the morning, back to school morning. My name is Josh Shipton, and this is Economics and the Stock Market. It is a 10th through 12th grade elective that students may take. And we actually flip the course. We do the stock market first because we do participate in some stock market games, so therefore I make sure that we cover that information before we get to the economics portion. Here is my email address. If you ever need to reach me, that's the best way to get a hold of me. I can usually get back to you within a day if you would have any questions, comments, or concerns about your son or daughter in my class. As far as grading goes in this class, I think I'm pretty fair, especially this year with the hectic schedule. Even if kids are turning in things late, I try and be fair about that and really not take off a lot of points just because of the confusion and the chaos. Everything is points based in this class, and if everything goes according to schedule, and we do have final exams this semester, each marking period will count 45% of their grade, and the final exam I only do 10%. I don't like putting a lot of weight all on one test for what they did the previous 89 days in class, so therefore the final exam is only at 10%, and I do allow them to use their notes on the final, so it's important that they stay up to date on those so that they can use them. The majority of the class, though, really comes from the chapter tests that we take and also the projects that go along with different topics that we are discussing. So for the first 4 weeks, typically what we do is an introduction to the stock market. So we're looking at, just in general, what is the stock market and why do companies issue stock? And really what I'm trying to teach them is what to look for in a good stock. And we do some financial analysis, looking at the products that they offer, looking at charts, and also interpreting news stories about those companies in order for them to try and make good selections with their portfolios in the games that we play. And the thing I try and differentiate is how we play the stock market game, things they do in order to make money in a very quick time period. Probably is not realistic for real life investing, so we try and make sure that we discuss both strategies and that they can use it for later on in life. Not so much what we do in the stock market game, but some of the other stuff that we talk about. You can see some of the other topics that we discuss while we are in the stock market portion of the class. We do talk a little bit about insider trading, which gets us to watch the original Wall Street movie that was released in the mid-'80s. It is an edited, censored version of the movie, so no worries there. We typically participate in 2 different stock market games, and we also do a short project that makes up a larger portion of this section of the class called What Affects Stock Prices. And they'll make a little video explaining some of the different things that will move stock prices. So real quickly, I'm going to take you to the website that we actually use for our one stock market game, and it's marketwatch.com. And I gave each of the kids $25,000 in cash to get started. And a couple days in, you can see we do currently have just 7 students who are actually making money right now at this time. I participate in the game in hopes that they will be motivated in order to try and beat me, and currently we have 7 people that are ahead of me. But this works in real time, so they can see all the different stocks that they bought, how much of it makes up of their portfolio, and whether it's making money or losing money for them. And they generally really enjoy playing this game and actually put in a lot more time and effort probably than I do in picking the stocks. So it's a good activity to reinforce the concept of investing. They can actually see the potential on how much money they can earn or potentially lose as well. So getting back to the class, once we get into economics, it's a little bit of both microeconomics and macroeconomics. So in chapter 1 and 2, it's basically just a general introduction into the study of economics and our free market economy. So one statement that my high school economics teacher used on day 1, and it still sticks with me today, is there is no such thing as a free lunch. And essentially what we try and hammer home there is, in life, every time you make a choice, there's an opportunity cost to it. So when you decide to do something, you're giving up another choice. So really there is no such thing as a free lunch because you're giving up something else in order to eat that lunch, and that cost you. We look at the study of incentives and how they are used to either motivate or unmotivate people to do certain things. and we look at our choices when it comes to wants versus needs. We look at a concept called the economic way of thinking, and because scarcity, which is a huge economic concept, forces us to make choices, we analyze, how scarce something is and what that potentially does to our decision-making process. And we also look at some of the pillars of free enterprise, so all the things that make our economy the powerful machine that it is. On day one, I asked them just some general questions in order to introduce the economic concepts and show them how this relates to life. So two of the questions that relates to this particular portion of the class, I asked them who they would trade lives with, and also asked them two things they wish they had more of, which everyone says time and money. And again, just trying to hammer home the point that everything is scarce in our life, especially time and money. The next 3 chapters talks about supply and demand, and this does take up a great portion of our class. So really it's just a study of how do we get to the different prices that we have for all the goods and services in our economy. And we look at all the dynamic factors that change prices, so whether it be supply changing, demand changing, both of them changing at the same time. We look at all of those, and they have a fun time trying to interpret what might happen with different prices. We look at some of these economic conditions, shortages and surpluses, and also some price controls that are used in our economy, known as price ceilings and price floors. And again, trying to get them thinking in real life. One question that I will pose to them is, why is golf more expensive in the summer and watermelon cheaper in the summertime? And through economics and supply and demand, we can fully explain why those prices are the way they are. And also just asking them some questions about why are certain things more popular than others, and obviously when there's more demand for something, the price is going to go up. And that relates specifically to a video I'll show them off of 60 Minutes titled, "Why are truffles the most expensive food in the world?" We skip ahead to chapter 9, and that deals with productivity and efficiency in our economy and how businesses can operate better. And we're just looking at overall measurements of the economy. So we talk about why the U.S. doesn't see GDP growth much higher than 3%. And also they'll do a project where they run their own little pizza shop where they have to analyze costs, whether they be fixed or variable costs, and make some decisions in that business based on the costs that they are incurring. Another chapter we do is on market structures. So we look at all the different market structures that businesses can operate in. We talk about patents and why they are important for businesses, especially new businesses. We look at competition and different ways that businesses can compete, whether that's through pricing, whether it's through advertising or product differentiation, and also how mergers can benefit businesses. Towards the end of the class, we start talking about the role of the government in our economy and how they basically play the role of referee and try and regulate the economy. We do look at some of the fiscal and monetary policies that government can put forth to try and influence the economy one way or another. We look at inflation, which is something that will impact all of us going forward in life, so I want them to have an understanding of that. And we also discuss the different types of taxes that are used by the government. And then some of the other really interesting things that we do in this class to try and hammer home some economic concepts, which I may have to adjust just because of the ability to be able to be touching different things and not spreading germs. But we do look at something known as the law of diminishing marginal returns. And what we've done in the past is we would have people making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as fast as we can. We would typically start with one student, time them, see how quick they can do it. We'd add a second student to that process. Generally, our time will go down. And at some point, we've already had 10 to 11 kids standing around one table, all involved in making one sandwich. And really what the concept is trying to prove is too many cooks in the kitchen. So as we keep adding more and more people to a production process, eventually there's no benefit to it. Another similar concept, but different, is the law of diminishing marginal utility, which states the more and more we use something, or the more and more we eat something, in the case of my experiment, we get less and less benefit out of it. So what I will do is bring in a box of munchkins, have someone eat one, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Typically they'll rate it a 10, but by the time they've had their 10th, 11th, 12th munchkin, generally they're going to be rating them lower scores. We do a handshake game, which is one I would probably have to adjust given our current standing, basically just to illustrate pricing. I do a little auction with them where we auction off teams in the NCAA tournament to again illustrate supply and demand and prices. And also, I like to do a lot of stuff with TV shows, and there's actually a ton of websites out there that have narrowed down clips from some of the shows that you see on screen here, and we try and explain economic concepts through that. So really, even though this is a business class, the economics portion of the class deals with business, but it's also almost like a social science class as well, and showing them how all of the choices they will make throughout their life really comes back to the study of economics. So hopefully that was a good introduction to the class for you. If you do have any questions though, like I said, please email me about anything related to the class, and thank you for watching.